Right. So I'm back, and you've obviously already clicked on this video, so you know that this is my La Liga 25-26 predictions. We've already done the Premier League predictions. I had some outrageous shouts there, but I don't know, we might have some new ones out here as well. Obviously, I follow La Liga a little bit more than I do the Premier League, yet I know more about the Premier League teams. But with that being said, I still do think that these predictions will be pretty interesting. You may already kind of predict who I'm rooting for. Yeah. But anyways, without further ado, why don't we just get straight into the predictions? So we're going to do it just like how we did in the Premier League predictions. We're going to start at 20th, and unfortunately, I do have to go with a newly promoted side. There is someone that has a pretty decent, story there. I believe Santi Cazorla is a player for Real Oviedo. Yes, I have them finishing in 20th, bottom of the league. They have a pretty nice story with Cazorla actually helping them get promoted back up into the first division after, working so hard after them being in the second division and even lower divisions for many seasons now. They're back up. I think that was the team that he actually started out with when he was a youngster. But now I think he might be about to turn 40. I don't know. In his later years or towards the end of his career after playing at Arsenal and many other teams, it's him trying to help out his boyhood team and lead them to the heights that they used to be. But with that being said, I do have Real Oviedo in 20th place. I just think as one of the weaker newly promoted sides, I think they might just go straight back down. Although they would have a very nice story if they were to stay up in the first division of La Liga. Moving on to 19th, I do have Elche. I know, a newly promoted side. I was saying this about the Premier League, where the gap is widening quite a bit between the Championship and the First Division or the Premier League. I think the same thing is happening within La Liga. I think the gap is widening between the two leagues, and I think it's very difficult to stay within the First Division of La Liga. But I don't know. And Elche, last time they were in the First Division, they didn't put up a spectacular performance. I believe they went straight back down, and they stayed there for a little bit. So now that they're back up, it could be a similar story where they just go straight back down into the second division. I'm sorry, Elche, but 19th. Rounding out the bottom three, it's not who you'd expect. It is not the last newly promoted side. It is actually Espanyol. The main reason why I'm saying this is because they nearly got relegated last season. I think they finished around 14th, but still relatively close to relegation zone because of Joan Garcia. But now they don't have Joan Garcia. He actually made it to Barcelona. Sorry about that, by the way, Espanyol. So I think without the likes of Joan Garcia, I think they're going to go down. With all due respect, I think they quite easily could have gone down if it wasn't for him. So now that they don't have him, another season in the first division, they could be going down. It could just be biased as a Barcelona fan, as they are major rivals in Catalonia. But still, I would say Espanyol just overall don't have the strongest of teams, hence why they might be going down through 18th. Yeah. In 17th, just narrowly escaping relegation or the drop, I am going to go with a newly promoted side, Levante. I think Levante are a really good side. I mean, I still can't believe the fact that they actually dropped down to the second division. But they're finally back up, so congratulations to them. Levante are a decent side who have shown that they could be a decent side in the first division, just with the right amount of backups, the right amount of players, and just overall good squad depth, which I've always associated to Levante. Just unfortunately they've dropped down and stayed in the second division for a little bit. But now that they're back up, I think they'll be able to make it, just escape relegation for this season, and then start growing a little bit more into it and be a mainstay in the first division yet again. In 16th place, I know this is going to be a big shocker, but I'm going to put Celta Vigo. The main reason I'm doing this is because, if I'm not mistaken, they finished in 7th place last season and they have Europa League. I think that's going to be a huge detriment to a Celta Vigo team because they just don't have the squad depth. Like, with all due respect, I just don't see Celta Vigo doing well in the Europa League, and due to that, I think they'll struggle in the league as well. I think they'll focus a little bit too much on Europe, maybe the Cup as well, and then they'll just eventually fall down as low as 16th. I know that's just above the relegation zone. Still, it's just, I don't know, it might be too much for this team. With all due respect to Celta Vigo, I do respect them a lot. Again, another bias because Celta Vigo have been a thorn in the Barcelona side for the past few seasons. But regardless, we're moving on. Sorry, Celta Vigo. In 15th place, we have a team that most La Liga fans really hate playing, and that is, I have to say, Getafe. They finished a little bit higher last season, but I think they might go down a little bit more just because they're pragmatic, more defensive, more stay back type of style. Although that has won quite a few games, I just think with the attacking output of many other teams, and I just overall I don't fully like this. I know I keep going with my bias, but Getafe, I'm sorry, I have to put you in 15th. I struggled to put you any higher. I believe they finished 13th last season. I think they'll have a little bit of a downfall, not for any specific reason. I just feel like they're gonna drop off a little bit. That's just moving up into 14th. I have Deportivo Alaves. I think they finished a little bit lower last season, but still, Deportivo Alaves are a team that, they can surprise you. I think they did some pretty shock results. I think even especially against Real Madrid. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they might have at least gotten a draw or a win over Real Madrid last season. Yes, it wasn't the Real Madrid of old or prime Real Madrid with the likes of Cristiano, Benzema, or Bale, but they still have excellent players like Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, and Vinny Jr. So this is not a lackluster Real Madrid. Yes, it was an underwhelming season for them, but still, the fact that Alaves was able to beat them, or if not, at least scrape a point off of them, they can definitely be higher, but for me, I don't know, 14th seems about the same place, or the right place for them, but I don't know, they could definitely be a shocker to everyone. They can even finish as high as 7th if I'm being fully honest, but I'm going to keep them 14th. 14th for Deportivo. So next up in 13th is another huge drop-off. I'm going to go with Rayo Vallecano. Yes, I know Rayo Vallecano had a pretty great season. They finished in 8th place, which I believe is the Conference League qualification. There's going to be 8 different Spanish teams in European competitions next season. We have 2 in the Europa League, 5 in the Champions League, and 1 possibly in the Conference League, and that being Rayo Vallecano. And very similar story to how I talked about Celta Vigo. I just think Rayo Vallecano could struggle with the fact that they have the extra pressure of another competition, and the Conference League is one that they could possibly go far in, which means they're going to be playing a lot of games throughout the rest of the season. The entirety of the season, they can go as far as probably like quarters or even semifinals of the Conference League, if of course they make it through. I believe it's just qualification, but I think Vallecano have enough to actually make it through, and if they do, they will, like I said, have a lot of games, and it will just be a detriment to their league season, hence why I have them on this lower half. Not only lower half, but just a huge downgrade. I think, 5 places, so yes, I have them dropping a little bit, but I don't know, this is what I see out of the Rayo Vallecano side. Moving up into 12th now is a team that has had just rotten luck in the past few seasons. I mean, last season was just horrible for them, and they were a Champions League / Europa League mainstay for a few seasons there. And I'm talking about Sevilla. Sevilla finished in 17th last season, nearly relegated. That is absolutely insane to me. But I'm still putting them in 12th now. I'm not saying that they'll get even close to finishing in the top 10 or even getting close to European qualification. I just think Sevilla will have a much better season, maybe less injuries, maybe better players, and overall just better play, and they will end up getting more results, better results for them, better results in the season, and getting a higher overall position to get close to what they used to be back in the day, which some could even argue top 4 / even title contenders. Title contenders might be a little bit of a stretch, but top 4 almost definitely there. They were in and amongst it. I would say at some point they were arguably the 4th best team in the league, but nowadays 12th is something that they should be celebrating. Yes, it's a 5 position difference between them and the last season. This one and the last season, I should say, but who knows? I'm optimistic for Sevilla. In 11th, I have another bit of an upgrade. I believe they finished in 15th or 16th last season. I cannot quite remember, but it's because they had Champions League with them, because they finished in 4th the season prior. Yes, I'm talking about Girona. A shock to everybody's system 2 seasons ago when Barcelona still had Xavi as their manager and Real Madrid won the league. Girona was actually a shock. They were top 2 for a majority of the season, but they still ended up clinching that Champions League spot, and they were in the Champions League but got pretty much embarrassed last season, and they kind of did hit their season quite hard with this, with also the fact that they lost quite a few players, the likes of Dovbek, and there was one more, Alex Garcia. He's the one who actually left to Bayer Leverkusen. Completely forgot his last name, but yes, Alex Vega of Girona did leave to Bayer Leverkusen. That was 2 seasons. Well, that was last season, and of course Girona struggled from that. But I think they'll be able to bounce back and get in and amongst it. I don't know why I keep saying that, but they will be in for a top 10 top 10 challenge, but just fall short and finish in 11th place in the bottom half technically, but will definitely be closer to that top 10 rather than the bottom 3. Because last season, it was just not great for them. Yeah. Champions League did hit them hard, and that's another reason why I've been saying the other teams that have Champions League or other competitions will struggle. Kicking off the top 10, I will say, is a team that will struggle with Champions League football, and that is Athletic Club de Bilbao. And no, people are going to call me bitter because Nico Williams did not decide to choose Barcelona or chose Athletic Club de Bilbao over Barcelona. I am a little bitter, I will be honest. But also with everything that's happened, I'm very happy that Marcus Rashford has joined Barcelona, and it probably wouldn't have happened if Nico Williams would have joined. So, I'm just saying. But with that being said, Athletic Club de Bilbao, I just think it'll be a struggle for them. Champions League, I think they're going to do pretty decently in it. I could even see them go as far as round of 16, possibly even quarterfinals, if not even further. They could be a little bit of a shock. But with so much focus on the Champions League, I could see them having a little bit of a dip in form in the league. I mean, they finished 4th last season. 10th is a 6th place difference. I know it's a huge difference, but I think it'll be a lot closer points-wise. I think they'll be much closer to that top 5 than they are to, like, say, a 13th or 14th. But that's just because I feel like the other teams will benefit from not having a European position or not having the European competition. And with the fact that Athletic Club de Bilbao cannot sign many players that are not from the Basque region, then it's tough for them to find enough reinforcements and enough squad depth for a title challenge and a going deep in a cup or going deep in the Champions League. So it could be tough for them. Hence why I have them rounding out the top 10. In 9th, I'm keeping the same team that was in 9th last season. It is Osasuna. I still think they'll have a little bit of a better season than they did last, but still Osasuna 9th is basically their level. At least that's how I feel. I can see them a little bit higher, I can see them a little bit lower, but I think 9 is that sweet spot for them. Athletic Club could overtake them, and the more I'm talking about it, Bilbao should probably be over them, but I'm going to keep it this way. Osasuna will stay in 9th. I think that's just, I don't know, I have a gut feeling that Osasuna will be 9th place. I don't think there'll be much movement there. Osasuna are a very solid side. I mean, they have Ante Budimir, who was a really good goal scorer last season, and if he could keep up the form this season, or even if he drops down a little bit, I feel like other players can step up a little bit and kind of push this Osasuna side to that 9th position. Like I said, it'll be close between 10th, 9th, and possibly up to like 6th place, if not 5th. And there's going to be just a few points within it, in my personal opinion. But still, Osasuna, take the 9th, and I'd say run with it. A little bit of a shocker, I have possibly kicking off like the Conference League qualification. I could be wrong in saying that, but I think that's true. I have Mallorca. Mallorca is a pretty solid side who have pushed for European places before, who have established themselves as a decent side in La Liga for many seasons now. Mojica, even Pablo Torre now. I'm a huge fan of Pablo Torre, hence why I'm kind of rooting for Mallorca to be as good as they are. Yes, I have a little bit of a bias. Yes, he was a Barcelona player. Now he's at Mallorca. Don't worry about it. I'm aware that I'm picking up on these biases that I have. But guess what? It's my video. It doesn't matter. Anyways, moving on. I do have Mallorca finishing in 8th place. I just feel like that's the right spot for them. I said that about Osasuna. And what I just did, because if I'm not mistaken, Mallorca finished in 10th place last season. So they just basically leapfrogged Osasuna. Osasuna stayed in the same spot of 9th. Mallorca moved up to the 8th. I just think they might be able to do a little bit better. And I could honestly even see them pushing for a European spot. Whether that be 7th, 6th, or even 5th. That might be tough, but don't count it out of the realm of possibility. But I do see them clinching that 8th place spot. If that's Conference League qualification like it was last season, then so be it. Maybe one might see Mallorca in Europe next season, or the following season. Moving on into 7th place, which I believe is a Europa League spot, I have a team that yet again should be finishing among these places, if not higher, because at some point they were title challengers, and at the very least top 4 contenders, which were Valencia. Yes, I have Valencia finishing in 7th. They had a pretty lackluster season prior, and I know they've had many struggles. I mean, at some point I think I even predicted them finishing as low as 18th, getting relegated. That's ridiculous to me, but it's happened because of like financial restrictions or just the team just not being up to standard, losing so many great players. But now I think Valencia are in a much better spot, at least in my personal opinion, and I think they could be, fighting for those European spots, including even a Champions League spot. But I think they'll fall just short of it, finishing in 7th place with just a few points off of the Champions League spots, off of that top 5. I think these other 6 teams deserve these places a little bit more. So speaking of 6th place, I am putting Villarreal. Yes, I know I'm putting Villarreal. They are a very good side who have played Champions Leagues. They even made the semifinals at some point, just 3-4 seasons ago. I cannot remember exactly when they made the semifinals of Champions League, but they will have Europa League, if I'm not mistaken, next season. Could be wrong in saying that. Or did they make Champions League? I forgot what I think they got Champions League. So, Villarreal, overall, they have Europe next season. They'll be a little bit more focused on that, which will mean they'll just behind this next team that I have in 5th place. Because the 5th place does not have any European competition next season. I think they had a pretty terrible season. But before I get onto them, I am going to be talking about Villarreal, the Yellow Submarine. Great side, great players. I know I keep saying that about a lot of these teams, but I don't know, this Villarreal team, they're a bit of a surprise most seasons for me. It's either they do really well and they perform most people's predictions, or they underperform and they just underwhelm everybody's predictions. I feel like last season they kind of overperformed. This season they might underperform, so I'm kind of hedging my bet on that. So we'll make it a little bit light on Villarreal. They could drop as low as 8th in my personal opinion, but I think 6th is where they'll be. That's just my prediction right there. 6th. We'll keep it like that. Moving on into the top 5 now, which is Champions League qualification, because La Liga now have the top 5 places now as Champions League qualification. It is none other than Real Sociedad. I know I kind of hinted to them a little bit earlier with the fact that they didn't have any European competition this season, or last season, sorry. They don't have any European competition this season. They had it last season. They had the Europa League, if I'm not mistaken. This season, they quite struggled last season, if I'm not mistaken. But in this season, no European competition. The only competitions they're in is the Copa del Rey and La Liga. So they should focus solely on those two, and I think that'll help their title challenge. They could even be a little bit of a surprise. They still have the likes of Takefusa Kubo, who I think will have a pretty decent season, and push for top 4 finish, top 3 finish, trying to crack into those top 3 of Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid, but ultimately fall just short by a few points, maybe more than a few points, and finish in 5th place. Still clinching that Champions League spot, and hopefully they'll do a little bit better the following season. Into the top 4 now, we have Real Betis. I mentioned it in my favorite teams video that Real Betis is a team that I really enjoy watching. I'm a pretty decent fan of them, and I am going to say that Real Betis is an amazing side. They did lose their player Johnny Cardoso to Atletico Madrid, so that could be a little bit of a hindrance to them. But I think they're always able to bring in players no matter how many they lose, and they're still a really competitive side. I mean, Isco. I know they no longer have Vitor Roque, but they still have Chimi Avila, if I'm not mistaken, and Cambu, and so many other great players. I forgot exactly who their goalkeeper. I'm not sure if they still have Ruiz Silva. No, I think he was loaned out, or maybe sold. I can't remember. But anyways, Real Betis are still a very fantastic side. I need to do a little bit more research on them, and I need to keep up with them a little bit more often. Obviously, Barcelona is my La Liga side, but I will be keeping a close eye on Real Betis. They're a great side, and I'd love to get one of their jerseys. But with that being said, I do think they'll make Champions League for next season, and I think they have Europa League for this season, so it'll be tough for them, but they might crash out of it a little bit early. The Conference League finalists, the Conference League runner-ups, they lost to Chelsea, unfortunately. I watched that final. I was rooting for Real Betis, if I'm being fully honest. I think I mentioned that in my predictions video. But regardless, Real Betis, top 4. I think that's pretty comfortable for them and pretty, not easy, but doable for them. Now, in the top 3, obviously, there's Barcelona, my favorite team. There's also Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid. So the two sides of Madrid, they are huge competitors for, the reigning champions, Barcelona. So let me just get that right out of the way. In first place, the winner, I am saying, is Real Madrid. Of course not. Of course not. The winners of La Liga, my prediction for the winners of La Liga is, of course, FC Barcelona. Why would I even predict anybody else to win it? I am going to say FC Barcelona is or will be the 25-26 La Liga winners. I just think the momentum that we're riding, Hansi Flick is an amazing coach. We have so many amazing players, including arguably the best player in the world right now, Rafinha. Of course, I'm joking yet again. I'm talking about Lamine Yamal. But Rafinha is a Ballon d'Or worthy contender. Lewandowski is still scoring a lot of goals, and even behind him, we have Ferran Torres. And alongside him, we have Marcus Rashford, who can play on the left wing, but has also been experimented as the striker in this preseason tournament, and just over all these friendlies before the season even starts, through Hansi Flick. And he's been doing really well at striker. Not to mention Pedri, Frankie de Jong. I know we lost Inigo Martinez. That's a huge loss for us. But I think Araujo will be able to step it up as one of the first captains. I think with the whole Ter Stegen situation, it's a little bit murky, but Ronald Araujo will definitely be the captain of this side for quite a few games at the very least, because we do have a new goalkeeper in Joan Garcia. And honestly, he's been very promising. He's kept a few clean sheets in preseason. He's made some excellent saves in preseason. And overall, he's impressed me. But, of course, he has to win me over through real matches. So we will see exactly how he does. He was the best goalkeeper last season. Now he's on the best team in La Liga. So, of course, there's only one team that could ever win this La Liga season. Many people, I think Real Madrid are still favorites for this season, but I don't see it. I really don't see why. I know we may not have the biggest of squad depths, or we have financial issues, but still, this team is still very elite. We're arguably the third best team in all of Europe, if not the world. So I'm just saying, Barcelona, watch out, because we're going for everything again. We're going for the treble. And we're not talking about the domestic one. We're going for the European treble, La Liga, Copa del Rey, and the Champions League. That mythical number 6, going for it. But with that obvious answer out of the way, we're going to go for second and third place. Of course, it's between the two Madrid teams. Who is going to finish in third and who's going to finish in second? It's a big debate, and I'm going to be bold for this one, just like how it was in the Premier League. I'm going to say Real Madrid will finish third. So let's focus on this third place spot real quick. I'm not saying Real Madrid are going to have a terrible season. I just don't think they're going to go back up to the standard of what they should be. I know they brought in Trent Alexander-Arnold. I know they still have Gonzalo Garcia, Vinny Jr., and Vinny Jr. he had a dismal season last season. Don't know how he got nominated for the Ballon d'Or, by the way. That's a video for another time. But they still have Kylian Mbappe. They have Jude Bellingham. They have Fede Valverde. They have amazing players. But center back wise, not much squad depth there. They have Antonio Rudiger and Dean Housen. Great signing, by the way. But behind that, what? They have injury-prone players like Eder Militao. They have not so great of backups like a Jesus Vallejo. And then their left back, Alvaro Carreras. That's an amazing signing. But then behind that, Ferland Mendy, Fran Garcia. They're great players, but Real Madrid quality, it's a tough one to say. Arda Güler will have a more prominent role, and of course they have a new manager in Xabi Alonso. I'm a big fan of Xabi Alonso, not as a Real Madrid player or as a Real Madrid manager, but overall as the technician, the smart mind that he is, both as a manager and as a player as a manager for Leverkusen and as a player for Bayern Munich and Liverpool. But overall, I'm excited to see what he can do with this Real Madrid side. But of course, I don't want them to do well. But either way, the main reason why I'm having it in third is because my second place team, obviously Atletico Madrid, I fully have faith in them. I genuinely think they'll put a stronger title charge, a stronger title challenge than Real Madrid will this season. The signings that they've made are not only relatively cheap, but also smart, extremely smart, and I'm very excited. If I was an Atletico Madrid fan, I would be over the moon. Honestly, they brought in David Hanko. I think that's a very smart signing. Never expected it. I thought he was definitely going to go to the Premier League. It would have been smart for any Premier League side to sign him, and yet he's gone to Atletico Madrid. That's a great signing. Alex Baena, a winger from Villarreal. Again, one of the best wingers, one of the best Spanish wingers in Villarreal, in the league, and has joined Atletico Madrid. Tony Cardoso, what was it? Retegui? No, not Retegui. Ruggeri, the left back from Atalanta, has joined Atletico Madrid. And then Thiago Almada. It's an amazing signing. I just got an Almada jersey for Leon, and now immediately he joins Atletico Madrid. So thank you, Atletico, but also, wow, thank you. But anyways, I do think with these signings, plus the depth that they already had, I mean, Julian Alvarez, Antoine Griezmann, and so many other amazing players, and Cholo Simeone is still a fantastic coach who refuses to give up, and he will be gunning for this title. I do not want to count them out. I'm not saying that it's a guaranteed win for Barcelona quite yet. I do think they are in the strongest position. I think Atletico Madrid are close. I think Real Madrid and Atletico are as close as they can be, and it'll be just a few points between it. I truly do think that it's going to be very close. I think Barcelona will have to be on top of their game, and if they slip up, Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid will both be there to sweep up and, try to overtake them at any point. But I think it's going to be a very fun title charge or fun title race for all three of these teams, including, and maybe even 4-5 teams that are going to be make Champions League. But overall, the top three teams were the ones that I mentioned: Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and of course, my favorite, Barcelona. But anyways, those were my La Liga predictions for the 2025-26 season. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think of the La Liga table and what are your predictions for this season. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Lates.